Have you ever felt that life was unfair? Have you ever looked down at what you had, compared it to what others seemed to enjoy, and thought, why me? Why am I always the one left behind? It could be something small, a car that rattles while your neighbor drives something shiny and new, a faded jacket while others wear fine clothes. Or maybe, like the story you are about to hear, it was simply an old, worn-out pair of shoes. This is not just a story about shoes. It's a story about perspective, about what we see, what we fail to see, and what we only discover when life holds a mirror in front of us. There was once a man, not old but not young either, who lived in a small town. He worked hard enough to earn his living, but nothing ever seemed to stretch far enough. His shoes were cracked along the sides, the soles worn thin, the leather so faded it no longer had a shine. Every morning he looked at them with bitterness. When he walked through town, he noticed the way others glanced down, the subtle shake of a head, the hidden smirk of someone passing by in polished boots. It ate at him. He thought about those shoes all the time, how they embarrassed him, how they made him feel lesser, as if the world had decided he did not deserve the dignity of something new. He compared himself to his neighbors, to the men at work, to the children running in the streets with bright sneakers. His chest tightened with anger. Why do they get everything? Why am I always stuck with less? Each thought was a seed of resentment, and every day those seeds grew stronger. One afternoon, his frustration boiled over. He had been walking through the town square where stalls lined the cobblestone street selling fresh bread, colorful scarves, tools, and, of course, rows and rows of shoes. The smell of leather was heavy in the air. People stopped to try on pairs, laughing, bargaining, showing off to friends. His eyes locked on a young man slipping his feet into shiny brown shoes, tapping the heels proudly against the stone. The man with the old shoes clenched his fists. His heart pounded. Why me, he thought again. Why can't I just have one decent pair? I work as hard as anyone, maybe harder. What have I done to deserve this? His anger rose into words he muttered under his breath, then louder as if he needed the world to hear his grievance. Why me? Why can't I have what everyone else has? Why am I cursed with these rags on my feet? People glanced at him strangely as he stormed away, his words echoing in the marketplace. He felt ashamed, yet his anger would not let go. He walked faster, as though trying to escape his own thoughts. And then, life decided to answer him. As he turned down a quieter street on his way home, he noticed a figure sitting on the edge of the road. At first, it was just another man resting in the afternoon sun, but as he drew closer, his steps slowed. The man by the roadside had no shoes, not because they were worn out, not because they were stolen, but because he had no feet at all. His trousers were neatly folded where his legs ended, the fabric pinned carefully. His hands rested calmly in his lap, and on his face was something the complaining man had not seen in a long time, a gentle smile. The world seemed to fall silent. The noise of the market disappeared, the cries of the merchants vanished, even the beating of his own angry heart faded into stillness. All he could see was that smile, a man with no feet who would never walk, never run, never wear shoes, smiling, content. The complainer felt as if the earth had opened beneath him. Shame washed over him so strongly he could barely breathe. He looked down at his own shoes, the same pair that had tortured his pride, and for the first time in years, he did not see failure. He saw a gift. Those shoes, ragged as they were, carried him every day. They allowed him to stand, to walk, to chase after life. He had cursed them, but they had been proof all along that he had something precious many others would never know. He walked on, slowly, almost reverently. Each step was no longer heavy with anger, but filled with an awakening. He could hear the scuff of his soles against the stones, and instead of disgust, he felt gratitude. The world looked different now, brighter somehow, even though nothing had changed, except his eyes. That evening, when he placed his shoes by the door, he no longer muttered curses. He touched them gently, almost as if apologizing, and when he went to bed, he whispered a quiet thank you, not to the shoes, not even to fate, but to life itself, for opening his eyes before it was too late. From that day on, whenever he felt the sting of envy, whenever he began to compare his life to another's, he remembered the man by the roadside, the smile that had no bitterness, the peace that came from acceptance. And he reminded himself, sometimes what we think of as little, as broken, as not enough, is in truth a blessing far greater than what we envy in others. So if you are listening to this story today and you find yourself complaining about what you lack, pause for a moment. Look again. Think of what you still have that someone else would give anything for: your health, your freedom, the people around you, even something as simple as the feet that carry you through your days. Life is never perfect, but perfection is not where peace lives. Peace is found in gratitude for the worn shoes, the cracked roads, the ordinary days that we so often take for granted. And perhaps the lesson is this: sometimes the greatest tragedy is not what we are missing, but how blind we are to the gifts already at our feet.